Welcome, everyone. This is Piney News, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
And Cinders.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. And it is time for us to begin with this week's news, where we actually have some real news.
Yay! We have awesome news.
Yes. Update 23 has reached Boer for its first round of testing, where we had a chance to take a look at the Grey Mountains.
Dragons!
I didn't do too much hunting for the dragons. I was looking at many of the secondary things that were being done in there, and took a small glimpse at the landscape.
The dragons are really, really cool, though.
Okay, so
I totally went looking for dragons. I found dragon corpses. I found actual dragons.
Baby dragons, dragon eggs.
Baby dragons, dragonettes, teenage dragons. You name it. There's dragons all over the Grey Mountains.
That tells you how far I got out of camp. That I did see one set of dragon bones, but I didn't go far enough out in order to run into any monstrosities that were still alive. So therefore, of course, of special note, the Grey Mountains has, of course, talking all about the homeland of the dwarves. So you learn a lot more about the Greybeards. You get to visit the Iron Hills and the Grey Mountains. And apparently, based on what Terry Edwin just says, you might run into a dragon or dozen.
Couple dozen. I don't know. We lost count. It was really awesome.
There we go. And they also updated the Hobbit avatars finally. So I did my own video, which I have posted on my YouTube video thing, and I include their look at at least of the Hobbit lass ones, where I forgot to take a look at any of the Hobbit lads, probably because I have so few of those characters. But I did take a look at how the avatar looks different on there. Another item there is that the level cap is being increased to level 120, and this includes features, new gear, appearances, cosmetics, and other things. Yeah, that's sort of like, okay, yeah. Didn't we just have one of those?
Yeah. Not a fan of the level cap going up, just because, well, I will say that the level cap going up does not affect me nearly as much as it does people who actually were paying attention to gear and grinding for that tier 2 raid. I wasn't doing any of that, so I'm kind of okay, except there's a new ash thing, except they're not calling it ash anymore, they're calling it something else. But it's new ash as opposed to old ash. Yeah, because it's all moats right now, but I think the old ash is being renamed to moats and the new ash is supposed to be embers. But all of it is moats right now. And so it's like two different types of moats, and they don't stack. So all of the old stuff goes to the moats of enchantment, and all of the new stuff is embers of enchantment, and you can't ash the old stuff to get the new ashes. So yeah, it's
maybe they should just call them cinders.
That'll be the next tier.
That'll be the next tier.
That's when we go to 125. We'll have cinders of enchantment.
They might come up with something new or different, though, that has nothing to do with ashes, cinders, or embers.
And there's a new loot box, so it's
good grief!
Yes, new loot box. But when Chromite was testing, because it's in my highlights, I was on Chromite stream. But he did find out that the black steel keys will open the new loot boxes. So we have new loot boxes, but not new keys. So basically, don't stack up old stuff thinking you can trade it in for new stuff, because you can't. But you definitely want to stack up on the keys, because the black steel keys work for the new loot boxes.
Well, new loot boxes for a new level range isn't all that unusual. The thing that was the real pain is when they required new keys for Mordor,
Yeah.
which was
So these are the same keys that we've been using since Mordor came out. So you can do all of those quests to get more of those black steel keys. If you're inclined to get your gear that way. Although I will say, do you want to move on to the mastery thingy in classes? Because that's
okay.
kind of important too.
Yeah, that is because, yes, mastery has its cap decreased from 400% to 200%, seeing that I doubt I had a character that was... I would have to check my characters, but I doubt I was getting anywhere near that 400%, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was below 200%. So, therefore, I probably wouldn't notice that all that much. Anyway, it's subject to some degree of reducing returns. This change is retroactive to all levels and equipment, which makes it easier to achieve moderate mastery levels, but harder to maximize them.
Yeah, so basically what this means is it's easier to get like a little bit better than average, so you're doing decent DPS, but harder to get to cap. So I actually just checked because I was curious. Terry on live right now, her physical mastery is 289.9%. On Bull Roar, it was about 143%, and I was kicking butt on Bull Roar. Like, I was having a much easier time on Bull Roar than I've had on live in ages. Like, since Mordor came out, I've not had it this easy on Terry.
That would probably be because of point 2, which is monster health has been adjusted to be considerably lower at the higher levels of the game to adjust for the change in masteries.
Mm-hmm.
And the monster health has been adjusted upwards on very low levels to compensate for the skill bonus changes over time. I was going through on Bulwer and finding that there were significant differences because every level's morale just about is different. I might be able to eventually find a level somewhere where it's exactly the same, just because that's where the two lines cross. But right now, I've noticed a major reduction. I think almost halved at the upper levels, and it's tripled at the lowest levels because we were doing some level 1 to 5 stuff on live, and I had taken started a new character on Bullroar to see what those lowest levels were like, and I think a level 5 is something like 50 or 60 morale in live right now. And I was finding that on Borer, it was level 1s had 110%, 110 morale, and I think it's about 180 maybe at level 5.
So you're not face rolling your way through the intro anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you have a chance to actually learn your skills.
Yeah, this is actually a good thing.
It's good thing, yeah, because because
stuff dies so fast that you don't get your skills off. So having the higher morales at the lower level is actually good because you can learn your class, especially for groups. Because if you have those higher morale pools at the lower levels and you're getting together in a group at the lower levels, stuff lasts long enough that everybody can kind of test out what they can do skill wise, and you can figure out rotations and things before you hit like the 50s and up. So you learn how that stuff works before you actually need to know how that stuff works, which is good.
Yes, so that's a good change there. And yeah.
At the upper levels, Sanswinder tried a Runekeeper with the new adjustments. She ran a Runekeeper through Mordor at like 105, she said, is where she took it into Mordor, and she said it was much easier to do it on Bullroar than it had been to do it on live when Mordor came out.
She mentioned she took an Ariad character, so currently if you Ariad a character to 105, you can't, even though you get level 105 appropriate gear, you really can't do Mordor without getting squashed.
Yeah.
And I remember she was saying that she didn't have that problem on Bullroar.
Yeah. Well, in Bullroar, Mordor is, of course, 106 up, and a 105 character, trying 106 content was... 106 characters had enough trouble.
The whole point of the Aria was so you could get there and go into Mordor, and then you couldn't go into Mordor, so it was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. Now,
So-
of course, there was at least one complaint on the Borrower forum says, "Oh, we now face roll through. Now we're face rolling the landscape again."
Oh my god! You know what?
Especially
I like
in groups.
face rolling the landscape solo, because if I'm solo and I'm surrounded by 5 things and they kill me and I have to run back to the red circle, I'm gonna get mad.
Right. So therefore, that sort of picture is the change to the health in that matter. Well-geared DPS builds will see relatively minor changes on the average time to defeat a monster, while non-DPS builds will see faster average time to defeat enemies. Actually, I would say at the upper levels, okay, they did say well-geared ones, just that I definitely never had what they would qualify as a well-geared character. So.
I would
To
say
me,
that
I was
Terry-
considerably faster. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was chewing through level 118 mobs, and I haven't killed stuff that fast since Mordor came out.
Yeah.
It's actually almost like they tweaked finesse a little bit, which I think they did, actually.
Well, that's another possibility. Or it could be that because of the way the rest of the changes were, finessed is now turning into monstrously powered or something. Well, because right now I think finesse was the go-to stat a lot of people were pumping in.
Yeah.
After Mordor, because you had to have to survive. So if they toned things down a little bit, finesse.
You needed to hit things because, well, especially on a melee DPS, because melee DPS, the block parry evade and partial block parry evade was just a pain. And I wasn't having those issues on Borrower, so that's not listed in patch notes, but I'm betting they did some tweaking there.
Yeah, either there's some tweaking there, or it's a side effect of the other tweaks that finesse was helping a lot there. Either way, all gear now has the stats linked to the core rating system, meaning that the gear statting is now more consistent over the level range. This scaling has been extended to cover the vital stats as well, such as might and vitality. And I would think that would make it a lot easier to do scaled gear then. Which
we can hope.
Because I'm surprised that they hadn't done something like that years ago. Assuming I understand what they're talking about, which is considering that gear stuff isn't exactly my specialty. And item levels are now distributed more evenly from level to level to progress more smoothly over each band of levels. Item levels of existing gear will not change, but scaling gear dropped at various levels will obey the new item level patterns, but items over 175 remain unchanged. I guess because that stuff over 105 just has too many people having it right now, and they did want all that confusion there, I guess.
Probably. But
yeah, the level rating system that they've been having ever since was it Helm's Deep that really got it out of whack, or was it Rohan? I think it was Helm's Deep that introduced.
I think it was Helm's Deep with all of the class changes.
Yeah, those level ranges were really wacky ever since then. But the one still above 105 looks like will remain wacky for now. And ratings caps can no longer change from level to level, and are now consistent throughout your character's leveling experience.
Which again is a good thing, so you get used to seeing that cap.
Now, they say the following warden skills are now stacked when applied by different wardens: Resounding Challenge, Assailment, Piercing Strike, Precise Blow, and Spirit of Virtue. I get the impression, though, that these updates, that those warden skill updates are not for update 23, but they're for 22.5, which I expect to be probably in a couple of weeks.
Could be.
Yeah, because I heard Cordovan actually read the preliminary patch notes to update 22.5. So it might even come out next week then. But apparently there's some QA people that are
But maybe they
out
just
next
wanted a
week.
round of testing just to make
Yeah,
sure.
I think there were a couple things they wanted to be tested. That's most likely it. They wanted to get a round of testing, get some feedback on it quickly, and then they'll be voting it into. And I think all this Warden stuff is for 22.5. I got the because Warden traits Bane of Shadows and Foe of the Darkness now properly affect following skills. Warden Redline trait plus 5% DOT gen now properly affects the damage over time for Power Attack, Mighty Blow, and Unerring Strike. So apparently there are a lot of bugs in the Warden trait lines that were not giving what they were promised to do. And I think that was half the patch notes for 22.5.
Getting the Warden skills to do what they were actually supposed to do in the first place.
Yeah. And the Warden Blue Line specialization bonus now properly affects the healing from the following skills. Yeah, so because they all sound like the things that he read off yesterday when saying that these are things for 22.5. I can't remember what the non-Warden stuff was, but of course, what he didn't mention is the thing that I'm sure is the reason why I'm sure you're going to get 22.5 within 2 weeks, and that is because Farmers Fair is coming up, and we know Farmers Fair is going to has to be out there. Because at one time when they were first talking about 23, I said, what? They can't have this ready within 2 weeks for the Farmers Fair. Then I heard about 22.5 coming up.
Okay.
And I knew, okay, they now have time for get 23 ready. Well, they can take care of the Farmers Fair stuff and the Warden, apparently. It also says the Hunter Deed Swift and Sharp now increments when the skill Swift Bow is used. I can't remember, because it wasn't a Warden thing. Didn't pay attention for that when Cordovin was reading off the stuff, so I don't know if that's included in the 22.5 stuff. It also said 22.5 patch notes were incomplete, so that sounds like something that might also be in there. And in crafting, weaponsmiths can no longer create Doomfold metal shavings with ingredients packs. So apparently, ingredients packs were allowing you to create shavings, and a new Ironfold tier of crafting is now available. I see Terry is going to be super excited about that. Yeah. All right. Kinship and legendary item naming is now more flexible. I forgot to check on Bulwer to see if I can now go to
use
my
needles?
javelin name. Yes, use needles. Because that's something that has been unavailable for a while. So hopefully that will now be available. I guess next Bulwer build, I have to go in and check that out. Corrected an issue that could break item links and chat messages when too many items were linked. Right. Ooh, and bassoons.
Bassoons, yes.
Bassoons.
New instrument. They had teased that we were getting a new instrument, so it's cool that we actually are. And honestly, not too far on the heels of the fiddle, which is really surprising.
Yes, right. I think was it in the producer's letter or something like that where there was teasing something about bassoons, and of course I completely forgot about it.
They didn't say what it was. They just said new instrument. They didn't actually say that it was a bassoon.
I think I heard someone somewhere say bassoon, and so therefore new bassoons are available. Basic bassoons can be purchased at the Bard NPC. For minstrels, an Ironfold crafted bassoon recipe can be acquired in the Dwarf Holes Crafting Rewards Quartermaster and Scarnhold, and staccato and vibrato bassoons will be available in future content and can be previewed by visiting the composer of the Isengard Tavern. I did use a quick play with the basic bassoon on my character in my video in there.
Cool.
And the fish pond housing decorator item now fits into a large yard hook instead of a huge yard hook, because a lot of people were saying, this point it says huge yard hook, and it was only the size of a large yard item.
I love that it can also be placed in a special furniture hook indoors.
Yes. So you
I
can
think
have a fish pond indoors, so if you really want one.
I
If you
think
want
that
one.
that would just be really interesting to see.
And let's see, fixed legendary item name display being cut off in the examination panel. Several incorrect icons in Legion's quest items have been fixed. So this is mainly fixing stuff then. Oh, but more chairs are available for sit emote.
Yeah, I actually really wanted to go through and find all of the chairs that could be used with the sit emote, but instead we ended up doing something else. But I'm super excited that we can use more chairs with the sit emote because that's awesome.
And festivity tokens are now categories under instances and skirmishes in the wallet so that you can actually find them.
Yeah, that's good because they're next to impossible to find without doing that search thing.
And the imbued legendary item level cap has been increased, which there are now 5 additional levels for legacies, 2 of which can be unlocked and 3 of which are granted for free. And
everybody's looking forward to that grind.
Yeah, and there'll be another small increase alongside the release of the raid in the future.
Oh yeah, so if you've got extra XP pills, legendary item XP pills, save those because you can use those on your weapon to automatically level it up.
Yes, and be prepared to grind for all of the additional scrolls and starlit crystals.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think I might have enough starlit crystals probably already. But the core scrolls, I think I might have 1 legacy that might be fully capped, so therefore I usually don't worry about it.
Mine only are because Sans did that grind for me.
Yeah.
She's helping me with it as well because I'm like, I'm not too worried about it. She's like, nope, you need it.
I was the same way. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care that much about it. And she's like, nope, here you go. And she just sent me piles of stacks and stacks of scrolls. And I'm like, that's so amazing.
Actually, I think that's why I was wondering why on Landrival I thought I might have actually had on there a legacy capped. I have a feeling Sans might be responsible for it.
She probably is. She has been grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. Yeah, it's almost sickening.
You get a scroll. You get a scroll.
How she can do
Everyone
it,
gets
honestly.
a scroll. She loves Court of Saragost.
She does really enjoy Court of Saragost, but she also did all of the Minas Tirith dailies on multiple characters daily for weeks.
Yeah.
And I can't even get around to unlocking them.
I don't have them unlocked either because I did the Essence grind in Dol Amroth, and then I did the Wrap grind in Central Gondor so that I could get the Pelargir horse for Terry and the Stowaway Rat for my burglar. And that was all the grinding I was planning on doing. That was it.
Oh, and Maven helped with Terry's scrolls as well.
Yeah.
Got to give her credit too because she did some work on that too, and I was just like, "You guys are nuts."
Yeah, it's appreciated, but it's complete and utter insanity.
Yes, it's a whole nother level of persistence that I do not possess.
Now I get most of my starlit crystals from Scrades, and I think the Scrade group is going to be with the reduction of the morale of the enemies. I think those grades are going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah,
might be able to get 3 in.
Mine have all come from the festivals because it's really easy to just do. You're in an Ale League questing and be done.
Yeah, I've never done much on the Ale League side.
I only have like 2 characters who have. I prefer the In League.
Yeah. Now, Now, quest and adventure areas, a new featured instance rotation has been set up, including the Dome of Stars, Silent Street, Keys of Harlan, Blood of the Black Serpent, School of Tamiradin, Helicrod Spiderwing. Oh boy, Sandswinter will love that.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
The only one of those I've even heard of is Heligrod Spiderwing. What
Yeah.
are the others, and what area are they associated with?
Well, Dome of the Stars is Osgiliath. Silent Street is Minas Tirith. Keys of Harlan is in the Piligir area.
No, it's Pelennor.
Pelennor. Yeah, I meant Pelennor. Yeah, Pelennor, not Peligir. Oh, those Pellas. Yeah, Blood of the Black Serpent sounds like Pelennor. School of Tamirdane is in Eregion.
School's really easy.
Yeah, School's the easiest one in there. Let's see. I'm trying to think because I've done Silent Street before. At least was dragged through it. At least.
Yeah, I've been dragged through that one too.
Yeah, I've done. I've done Heligrod Spiderwing, and I might have even done it on level once. And on level though, back when on level was around when Cap was 85. I think I might have done it there because, of course, one of the favorite things that some people do is if their main thing they're trying to do is to unlock the Dragon Wing, they would run the other 3 Heligrod wings first at level 50 or something like that, just to unlock the Dragon Wing.
Yeah, so the Spider Wing is the raid. It's the 12-man.
And I've done that one.
Yeah.
Dome of Stars is a 6-man. And then Silent Street is the other 6-man. And then everything else is a 3-man. So Keys of Harlan, Blood of the Black Serpent, and School are all 3-man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I try to think if I've ever finished Keys.
So
I didn't do it.
So if I ask really nicely, would the two of you and Sans help me do those 3-mans?
Well, one of us in Sans can help you do the 3-mans.
Well, yes. I rarely play with I rarely play with Terry, but I do play with Pine Leaf. But I'm not opposed to having either one of you.
I can see something popping up next Saturday. On the
Excellent.
List. All right, we'll see what's on the agenda for them. I don't, especially School, since I am somewhat familiar with School. Keys, I don't think I've ever gotten. I'm not even sure I've ever reached the first boss, much less gotten past the first boss. And Blood of the Black Serpent, I'm trying to think if I've ever been in there.
I sort of kind of think we got dragged into it during a beta with Andang, but if that's the case, I've blocked it from my memory.
Yeah, because I know he brought us into Silent Street because I remember a rather dreadful attempt.
Yeah, I unfortunately haven't been able to block that one out.
Yes. Fortunately, when doing it later after release, it went a lot better than that particular one. Of course, when you're doing it the first time, no one knows how it goes, and then you're with Anding at the same time.
I think I did Silent Street once on live, and it still didn't go very well.
Yeah, you have to know. I do know that you had to be careful with the ghosts and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that had that fear mechanic that I just hate. Yeah,
fear mechanics. And I especially gotten a dislike for fear mechanics because in our grade group, I tanked the Nazgul at the end of Salt and Ringwraith's lair. And when he fears you, and of course that means I'm the first one that gets feared when that thing lands because it says, Hobbit Munch, you're afraid.
So that's a skirmish, though, right?
Yeah. Salt and Ringwraith's lair is a skirmish, yes.
Okay, so that's why I haven't seen that one yet.
Well, you haven't. How far have you gotten in your Mirkwood skirmishes?
the bare minimum.
We have got to get you through Mirkwood so that you can get those skirmishes.
Okay.
Okay. You do. I said if we show you those 3-player instances, then we've got to show you some skirmishes.
Then I will skirmish if you'll help me with the 3-player instances.
But responsibly, right?
Of course, responsibly.
Pine Leaf will be there. It has to be responsible.
Yes. Very well. Fixed opposing issue with an NPC in Brie. Which NPC is this?
Probably one that's still got to doing the T pose, the calisthenics.
I guess because I see every once in a while I run into people all over the place that do T poses. That's why I was wondering.
I ran into my first one this week, and Sans explained that it was a posing issue, but I ran into one in Lantran in Dunland, and I was like, why does that guy keep standing with his arms straight out? That's weird.
Bunch of them are still doing it in Dunland. It used to be like most of the NPCs in Dunland were doing it, but they fixed it. But there's still probably about 90% of the ones that are still bugged are in Dunland.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't ever encountered one before, and I didn't realize one in Bree did that. It
was really funny because there was a brief period where like half of the NPCs in game were doing it.
Oh yeah,
that would have been really funny to see.
Well, and it was funny because they hadn't really been playing with NPCs; they had tweaked something else, and it broke all the NPCs. It's pretty hilarious.
That is hilarious.
It's indicative of how sometimes when you tweak one thing, it can break something else that really is completely unrelated, but somehow related.
All right, then let's look at where were we? Oh yes, the Misty Mountain stable masters have decided to rent sturdy goat mounts instead of horses for travel in the mountains.
Oh, good. I always thought it should have been goats in the mountains anyway.
So their rep steed, is it the goat for Thorns Hall, or is it a different rep steed for the Misty Mountains?
Misty Mountains uses thorns.
Is one.
Yeah,
I
Misty
think
Mountains thorns.
I think the task boards are for Thorns Hall.
Okay, so then it would just be the goat from Thorns Hall.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, the rep in that area is probably depends on who gives you the quest and stuff like that, because if an elf gives the quest, it could be Rivendell rep. But there are a few quests in there that I'm pretty sure are for Thorns Hall rep, because that's also around the level, I think, where you start to get Thorns Hall clickies and the stuff like that.
I think so,
Yeah,
but I've always gotten mine.
The Misties. You get the Rivendell ones in the Misties.
It's okay. No, as I say, all of my Thorns Hall ones have come from Sarnor.
Yeah.
That's where they drop like candy, yeah. And the Epic Quest Blackwold's Broken now rewards more level appropriate gear for Bjorn. That's right, because I think when I was playing a Bjorning in there, I was wondering, why on earth was I getting weird... When was I getting level 18 gear? I
don't know. A lot of that gear is really strange anyway.
Well, that is true.
A lot of that early stuff.
But anyway, this one was something like 4 or 5 levels above the quest, and I was always going through there about at level, so I could just never use it. And so therefore, they've taken care of that. And the Breeland starter steed at Hengstacer Farm is no longer barred if you already have the Bree steed or Bree pony mount skills. Please note, however, that these steeds share appearances and mount speed. So you don't exactly need... I have a feeling it was just a thing about filling out your mount panel or something like that, because I can think that's the only reason why they would have gone through the trouble of unlocking that. And all characters, of course, now have passive skills for the bassoon use. So therefore, it's not one of those instruments where you have to be mentored by a minstrel or anything like that. It's going to be like the fiddle where everybody gets it. So that's a fourth instrument that you can use without mentoring, because right now everyone could use the lute, and classes, and each class can either use either the horn or the clarinet, depending on which class you are. Then you have the fiddle, and now the bassoon.
It's still worth it to have a minstrel mentor you, though, if you have a particular instrument you're interested in.
Oh yeah, if you want to learn how to play drums and the one that's not your class from the horn/clarinet group, or see, harps. So there are a lot of instruments. Yeah, there are a lot of additional instruments that you could, of course, learn to use with the little help of a minstrel. And so if you're in an orchestra or anything like that, of course, you'll especially be winning all those other instruments. And for UI, one of my favorites I saw in there was that players can now sort their characters on the character selection screen, and they can sort them from either alphabetical A to Z, alphabetical Z to A, level max to min, level min to max, or based on last login. And currently it is alphabetical A to Z, and that's the only way you could do it. But now, with Update 23, you could choose any of those 5 options. And also on the character selection screen, you can now show 6 characters per page instead of 5. No comments?
Well, I was just thinking that that's going to mess up getting, because before you could do 5, 10, 15, I'm sitting here going, okay, now I'm going to need some more character slots so that I have full things, because it drives me crazy when I don't have the whole thing. So...
Well, yes, that is one thing I was thinking about, is the people who really want to always have the full thing. So unless you happen to have been at 30...
I'm guessing that Sans is going to do the same thing.
So because how many slots do you have now, Terry? Okay, I guess her Discord went out again.
Yeah. I have 16 currently.
Oh, she went mute. Okay. Oh, she put herself on mute. Okay. So, therefore, we will then head on then. For a tooltip has been added to rename button on legendary item. Yeah, lippy-doo. And when the loading screen will now display hints based on the player's level, because right now the loading screen displays random stuff. So therefore, because it's all random, it could be something that's completely out of your level. So therefore, you have a level 115 character receiving, say, did you know that you could use a spear if you're a warden?
Right?
I know. I was a little bit of exaggeration there.
I don't think I've seen that particular one, but I have seen you can use your dressing room. Or you can buy a house at level 15 and pay upkeep.
Yeah. Right, you got the idea there. And when a die is used, the item in your bag that cannot be dyed will be darkened. So therefore, you'll only really see the items that can be dyed whenever you want to use a die.
I'm kind of excited about that, because then you don't accidentally try to dye something that can't be. But it doesn't affect how it shows up in your wardrobe for dyeing. The process is still the same.
Well,
I tried it out.
Yeah, okay. All right. And when the flame of and Calamir is used, items in your bag that cannot be disenchanted are darkened.
And that is really exciting, because I can't tell you how many times I've tried to disenchant something that couldn't be disenchanted just to see if it would work, because it doesn't say, oh, this cannot be disenchanted. So I'd click, you cannot use that on that item. You cannot use that on that item. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I'm really excited that the guesswork is taken out of that for us.
And here is one of the weird ones, and we'll get to this a little bit more later, but human female heads now match correctly between old and new. An extra new head that was missing has now been added. Old heads 10 and above have been shifted by 1 to compensate. And we'll talk about that one a little bit more later.
Yeah, that brings up so many questions.
And of course, there's all the stuff with the Isengard Tavern, which we will skip because we've already spent 40 minutes on this.
Fair enough. Just be careful because some of the items are mislabeled. So the level 120 stuff still says it's 115 at the last time we were on. So just be careful. And it doesn't actually hurt to try anything because everything is for fun.
All right. Then let's then head off to the LOTRO Beacon. And it looks like our old friend Schmog is on the front cover.
I'm not sure friend is the best term to use for him.
Well, maybe not, but it's hard to call him an enemy anymore, seeing that he's been dead for a few decades.
Yeah. Good point.
Yes. Nightwolf writes about an outcast writer's journey to find his way back to the mark as he loves in his LOTRO fan fiction. And on Middle Earth is a LOTRO play log with spoiler contents that documents the adventures of a player through screenshots. And Chickening Around had Chapter 13, Part 2 of their webcomic. And the Oats are back on Saturday, August 18th, which has already passed. Hopefully, they might have that concert available somewhere so you can listen to it if you had missed it. For the Kin Hall, Sword of the Spirit is a kinship on Langeville looking for new recruits that will happily do trading and instances when asked, messaging Lutheim, Berglint, or Snake Eye to join. So here's our weekly comment. You're walking along a path in the old forest when suddenly you trip and fall. You look down at your feet, and there on the ground is a
Mushroom.
a mushroom.
I guess it depends on how far into the old forest you're on, but that first part where you're coming in from Buckland, it would definitely be a mushroom because they are all over the place.
I would think, though, that in other parts of the old forest, I would think it would be more likely one of those rascally tree roots that are all over the place.
Yeah. Or, depending on where you're at, it could be a flower.
Ooh, a flower. Yes, a flower for the Entwives.
Yep. But those are pretty rare. You'd have to trip in this perfect spot.
True. Or, how about yellow boots?
It could be yellow boots.
Yeah.
It could also be bones.
Well, I was thinking of yellow boots because obviously Tom Bombadil would be wearing those yellow boots at the time.
Yeah.
Hey, do, Mary do.
But you might notice that as you're tripping. Because I would imagine somebody person-sized in front of you, it would be hard to trip and fall and then stand up and look down at it, though. Right? Unless they, tripped you on purpose.
Well, that's why I was saying that you only see the yellow boots.
I suppose so.
Let's go into the fan site news. You can watch Agent Brigman run some summer festival quests and talk about her class syllabus. And you can watch epic shenaniganery with Tesla the Panda, and you can watch Uger's epic adventures on Crick Hollow. And welcome back, Sky Manic, where you could watch for their first adventures back. And you can watch Zeus Seduce, the quest on their lore master. And you can listen to LOTRO Players News 226, where we apparently tell you to raid responsibly.
I don't think you guys would ever say something like that.
Yes. And you can watch Vanyala Mithril search for Newsdom in Udun. And here is our screenshot of the week. For this week's screenshot of the week was submitted by Zax from the Lore Master, and apparently is showing people fishing.
And it's somewhere in the Horselands.
Yes, very definitely in Rohan somewhere.
I can't tell you more than that.
Yes, that's all you can. Yeah, let's see. Where? Actually, that, I'm trying to think. That's a possibility that that's not a person doing that. Yeah, I think that's one of the areas where you have that father and son fishing together.
I either haven't encountered them or just haven't paid attention.
Okay, very well. Then let's then have some store sales. And Cinders, could you please read the store sales?
I can. So on sale this week through August 23rd, 25% off Virtues and Virtue Bundles, Trait Slots, Skill and Slayer Deed Boosts, and the weekly coupon will get you Die Umber ×1 with coupon code UMBER, now through August 23rd as well.
Then let's get into our site news. Yes, we also have site news this week after all of that. And we have Squirrel's Guide to Bullroar. So if you're wondering what all this Bullroar stuff was all about, you could check out Squirrel's Guide, which is, of course, half serious and half tongue-in-cheek, as anything by Squirrel is. But they are talking about some of the things you need to do. Answers to basic questions. What is Bullroar and why you may want to or not check it out. And of course, that is the test server. And just remember, anything you do on Bullroar has no impact on your live characters. Therefore, if you hate it, if you hate doing stuff that you get no credit for, don't do Bullroar.
But it is great for trying out things that you can't try before you try them on the live server. Like if you wanted to try out an Aria, you could try out an Aria before you spend, 6,000 LOTRO points for it. Or if you wanted to see how certain dies look without spending money on them ahead of time, you can try them all out and not have it affect your actual live server, which is what I was doing.
Oh, usually I just use the dressing room to check out dies.
Well, yes, but I'm not sure, especially like new players. I wouldn't have known how to use the dressing room if Sans hadn't shown me, and I hadn't had Terry's expertise. But it would be something that if you didn't know, you could try. And then, like Terry's outfit that she was wearing when we were on Bullroar, she had dyed it Shire Plum, which is really a bright pink color, but it doesn't show up bright pink on all of the outfits that you had. So it was really cool to see how bright it could be. And then I was like, ooh, I need Shire Plum dyes.
Isn't Shire Plum one of the ones that Terry boycotts?
She boycotts it on the live server, but she was using it for fun on Bullroar.
Ah, okay. Then we have from Andang his LOTRO Update 23 videos. And this includes several things. He has the gray mountains flyby, where he goes through all the stuff in the Gray Mountains, and for the Iron Hills, and the expanded Erebor area. That is something that I missed when I was going through all the notes on there, is that they do have an expanded area for Erebor that connects the Allegiance Hall to the old exit.
Yeah, and say it's really cool. They've got all these mine things set up that you can run through, and it's really fun to get lost in, and really easy to get lost in.
Yeah, very easy to get lost in there. And they have a theater in there even.
Oh, I missed the theater.
Yes, my video, and I also did a video, and my video does also include a tour of the Erebor section. I don't go through the various areas. I don't go through the Iron Hills or through the Gray Mountains in my video, but I do go through Erebor Expanded and the side changes that we have. And he also has a Hobbit character, the new character avatars for the Hobbit. He also goes through on the character generation screen. So that's what we have from Andang, so his traditional preview videos. And we also have an article by the Antipodean writer, March of the Last Alliance. And this is a music video that he has created. So that's something to look out for. And what he did here is, this is obviously a Lord of the Rings based song done to the tune of Centuries by the Fall Out Boys. And he has a complete video so that you can hear how he works on that.
I'm definitely going to have to look at it.
Yeah. And let's see what next is. And that means it's time for a new player question. And no, I am not going to try to sing it. I'm not the singer in the group. So let's do the new player question. And you can listen to the video if you want to hear it.
So the new player question this week is, where does one acquire the fish needed for cooking recipes, and does one need to have completed any particular instances or levels to open the fishing options up?
As far as I know, because I actually used to do the fishing recipes way back when, but I don't think they were ever all that wonderful recipes, if I remember correctly, because I think I did a couple things with dates and stuff like that. So therefore, first of all, you have to unlock the fishing hobby skill. Well, I guess you could do the fishing recipes without that, but I'm not too sure if you can get the fish too easily if you don't fish them yourself.
And say, I think you have to fish them yourself unless you can get them on the auction house.
Yeah, and first off, I would say you'll probably have a hard time finding them in the auction house. And second of all, it could be that if they're in the auction house, they might be so expensive that you're probably better off fishing them in the first place.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So therefore, I will then suggest just go to the hobby master. He could teach you how to fish. He gives you a free fishing pole when you do that, if I recall correctly. And then you can just go to a pond and start fishing. And make sure it's a level appropriate pond, because I think I was fishing with a character that didn't really have, where I really didn't develop the fishing skill any, and I think we were way out in a 115 zone or something like that.
Lake Town?
Yeah, Lake Town. And you were catching all this wonderful, beautiful stuff.
Yes, I was.
And I was getting weeds, boot, weeds, boot, glove, weeds.
See, if you had kept fishing, though, you could have answered the other burning question on my mind right now, which is, how many does it take to make a stack?
Oh boy, that is. Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't thinking about seeing that because I just assumed that it'll be 50 and say, okay, why would I care? Because I'm going to sell it well before that happens.
Right? That was kind of Sanswinda's thing.
So, therefore, yeah, we have one has particular instances in there. So, therefore, I will say levels. You don't have the in particular. You have to, I think, have the novice trait in order to get to a hobby master in the first place. But you get that by getting out of the starter instance.
Yeah.
So you'll probably be at least level 5 when you do it, and you might be above that. And of course, you need to have a recipe to it. And those recipes, I presume they're purchasable recipes because I don't remember them dropping anywhere.
And see, I think they're purchasable. My cook she's doomfold fully done. But that was part of why I was wondering is because I caught my very first fish for crafting and was just wondering because 70 goldfish in to have one catfish drop. I was like, that's kind of odd. How often do they drop? Where do you even look? But knowing that it's level specific is really helpful. Because then I know not to just fish for doomfold ones and brie.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know all the exact rules currently with fishing. I just every once in a while go to a place and drop in a rod. And maybe someday I can get Mistress of Streams on my main, but I think I'm still 20 points away or something like that. So I think that's the only character where I'm anywhere near reachable for that title.
So I have one more question about fishing.
Okay.
And then I'll let it go. For a little bit. The fishing poles. So you get your basic fishing rod, and then later on you have the options of purchasing a fine elven one. Is it just cosmetic, or does it actually help you fish better?
Good question. I know that they show bonuses on there. I don't know how well those bonuses work. I know, for example, when they first started fishing, they had vendors. Actually, those vendors are still there. It's just that they don't do too much. Where the vendors will sell you bait, and that bait was supposed to improve your fishing skill while the bait was active. But then they found that there was a bug in how the bait worked, so therefore they stopped selling the bait because it wasn't doing anything. And I don't know whether the bonus granted by those polls actually do anything, or if it's something that they tried to implement, but it never really worked. So my guess is probably going to be cosmetic. So it's possible it could give you a slight increase because I think the most recent ones might be something like plus 10 or something like that, assuming, of course, that does anything.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I was like, is it worth buying them? I mean, a fishing pole's a fishing pole, but knowing that they could do something would make it worth at least investigating further.
Yeah. So therefore, I have a feeling then it's probably more cosmetic than anything.
Okay, that's awesome.
Then let's head into our week in LOTRO, and Terry Adwin is currently handling a family emergency, so therefore we'll have to go to Cinders.
Awesome. So I've already talked a little bit about my highlights. I did try out the new update on Bull Roar with Sanswinda, Terry, and Maven. I rolled a Guardian and jumped it to 120, and then we went exploring, and we found lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of dragons, all kinds of dragons, including dragon eggs and the remains of dragons. So it was really fun, and then the following day, Sanswinda and I went out as well, again, just to see what we could find and if we could find anywhere else, and we found some other interesting areas. And then we got to have a debate on whether we'd found the same place twice, or if it was really two different places. But we got to see where the new rep vendors are, which was kind of cool. And some of their armor actually looks pretty good for cosmetics. So I'm really excited. And then, so Sanswinda and I have a guardian captain duo that we have kind of run together, and we got them going for girls, and then we played them a little bit separately, and so while Sans was trying to catch her captain up in the epic to where my guardian was, I decided to earn my sunshine title. So I spent hours yesterday working on my sunshine title, and the RNG hated me. I know it doesn't really have that ability, but my Hobbit was having more issues in Thorin's Hall than my High Elf had. So I started to acquire goldfish and weeds, and goldfish and weeds, and goldfish and weeds. And I was like, this is really interesting. I've never had this many before. I wonder how long it'll take to find out how many stack. And I asked Sanswinda, thinking, she can tell me it's a piece of cake. I don't have to worry about this anymore, right? Well, she goes, I've never kept them long enough to find out. And I went, oh. So I was like, well, maybe it's 10. Because that would make sense. Pretty low levels, not something that you would really be expecting to keep lots of. It is not 10. And then I was like, well, maybe it's 25. It's not 25. Then I was like, well, maybe since it's got the purple background behind it, it's 50, like rep items. It's not 50. I'm up to 70-something in both weeds and goldfish just from yesterday's fishing for the sunshine title. And I may have locked them and put them in my inventory so that I can find out later, as she does more fishing, waiting for Sans to catch up, to see how high it actually stacks, and I may have my other characters send all of their weeds and goldfish to her so that I can find out how high they stack. But it's a very hobbity thing to wonder about, and so at some point I may actually have an answer to that. And then the last thing that I did that was tons and tons of fun was I tried the Wraith of Water and Fornost with the girls, and it was a disaster. It was fun, but it was messy, especially when we got to the last boss, because a whole group of burglars and a guardian have a really hard time with jumping around and not dying. So I've been told that I will get introduced to the Wraith of Water properly by Terry and Sans, because I had never done it before. And they're like, oh, we're going to take you in with a proper group where they actually have the mix of people that you need to be able to complete it. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like fun. So I'm going to get to do that at some point, and I'm kind of looking forward to it because I want to know what it does and what it really looks like. So, Pine Leaf, how was your week?
Now, let me see. Is that the one with Sarah Oakart in it?
Yes, but I was told not to click on her because she's so slow.
Because I was going to ask you whether or not you managed to save her.
So I did not click on her because I was being very good. But it was really tempting, and they caught me just before I clicked on her. So that was a good thing.
All right. Well, I think we need to have you experience Sarah Oakart at least once, right?
I'm not sure I need to experience her in that setting. I've already experienced her when you first meet her. She's so slow moving. And apparently she's also an elf that I still haven't figured out where that part of the storyline is. Apparently I've never actually played through that part of the epic. So
how far have you gotten in Volume 1?
It depends on which character I'm on, and offhand I couldn't tell you, because I would have said, oh, I already did all of Epic 1. And apparently I haven't, because I did not make that connection at all.
Yeah, because either that or you went through so quickly that...
That could have happened too, because in keeping up with Sanswinda, I have done a lot of just click and go, click and go, click and go, and just read the little text that's off to the side telling me where I need to go rather than reading the story.
Yeah. So we need to take you through a proper Volume 1 at some point.
I do have a character on Gladden who is completionisting everything so that I don't miss out, but she has not made it through Epic Volume 1 yet.
Oh. What level is your Glenn character?
30 something, because she started in the Shire and she did everything in the Shire. All of the deeds, the prologue, and then she did everything in Bree, all of the deeds, all of the first part, and then she's now in the Lone Lands. Completionist stage.
Yeah, in the 30s.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
because I wanted to see everything at my own pace, and so that was how I went about doing it. Was I created another character on a different server that I could just run that wasn't attached to anybody.
All right. Terry Adwin, I think, is back.
Yes.
So would you
Sorry
like
about
to
that.
Yeah, so would you like to tell us what you did, or?
Sure, I can go into my highlights for the week. Well, we did the next chapter, just the one chapter, because it was kind of a lengthy chapter of the Lay in Rust and Rhyme, and Terry Adwin discovered that she is not, in fact, a raven. Because I know, right? They send you to go look for these birds that have apparently gotten lost on their way back, and I'm pretty sure that you really should have been a bird to get to where they've gotten themselves stuck. At least with the one, because we ran around for about 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get up to it. And then on board order, she had a much easier time fighting moms that she's had in a long time on live, so that was awesome. Led the girls of Middle Earth through some summer shenaniganry, and then attempted the Fornost water that Cinder's already talked about. Yeah, 5 bergs and a guardian.
5 bergs and a guardian?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right, that's my phone ringing.
So
Sorry.
we had no problem killing all the stuff until we got to the end of the thing, and then we had problems.
Ah. All right, then while Terry Adwin is handling that emergency, I will then take over. And I had several months ago joined a canon Gladden called Rangers of the West. And even though I joined them like probably 6 months ago or something like this, I had never actually done anything with them. Well, it happened to be that I was just going on to my character. I was a member of that kin during the week, and they apparently decided to start a Friday night's classic instance thing. And it was just starting, well, last night from the time we're doing this recording on. So I decided, all right, let's join this. So I took my level 57 warden that I have on Gladden, and we were doing Moria instances. So first we did the Grand Stair, and we went all through the Grand Stair, and we finished it all full Grand Stair run. We were all various different levels. We had me, who was level 57. I think there might have been 1 or 2 that were at the ideal level, a couple of them that might have been 5 or 10 levels over, and then there was 115 in the group. So quite a mix.
So what's the ideal level for those 2 instances?
The Grand Stair, the mobs are level 58.
Okay.
So therefore, I would say that would be the ideal level for it. I think it unlocks at 56 or something like this, because I had 2 of the instances unlocked and none of the others. So
Okay.
it was good that they chose Grand Stairs, because I was able to do it at least. Though I think they said that they have some shenaniganry they can do in order to get you in if you don't have it unlocked and you're part of a group that does. But
Yes.
so we didn't have to resort to that. I was able to just join that directly without any trouble. And when we finished that, I was 5,000 XP from leveling. I was saying, all right. And fortunately, I had the husk that you get at the end of the Grand Stairs. I was able to turn in the husk quest. Of course, then they sent you to way down to the Flaming Deeps in order to finish that quest. But I did get to the Flaming Deeps and there, turned that in. That leveled me to 58, which of course unlocked the rest of the instances. And after that, then we decided to do Phil Gashan, I think is the name of it.
Were you on the
fun.
warden?
Yeah. I was on a warden and I was in assailant stance. So I was tossing javelins at all these orcs. And we had decided that despite the fact that one of the entire points of this particular instance was stealth, we didn't use any. And so one person commented as we were about halfway through it, it's a good thing this isn't a skirmish because we're certainly not doing it responsibly.
They know you, Pine Leaf.
Well, yes, apparently they must know me. Yes. So that was my little fun with Rangers of the West, and hopefully I'll be able to join them more often there and finally actually do something with this kinship that, as I said, I joined 6 months ago, but didn't actually do anything with until last night. So that was a good deal of fun on there. And on my burglar, I log in. I believe I was in Chamber Crossroads or something like this. And I open up the Hobbit present. So the Hobbit present for the gold present for that day was a full set of agility tomes.
Nice.
All right. So, or the first 5, I should say. So a bundle of agility tomes. That's the first 5 of them. So, of course, and I decided to use them on my burglar, since it sounded reasonable for a burglar. The other choice would have been my warden, of course. So I used them on my burglar, though, since I figured my burglar could use the help more. Then I checked my shared vault space, and I happen to have had a 6, 7, and 8 sitting in my vault. Probably waiting for a 1 through 5.
Nice.
So now my burglar has tomes 1 through 8. So that was so now I'm feeling really agile in this, and I used all this agility I now have to go into the Silver Team loads and to rip apart goblins and glowworms and all that fun stuff. And then on my lore master, I faced a mighty apprentice wizard in Dunland. Yep, you know who I mean, yes.
I know exactly who you mean.
All right, Terry, I know you didn't have a chance to finish, so...
Yeah, phone calls in the middle of the night are never good news. But, so, yeah, we went through Fornos Water, and yes, it was a mess. I wasn't thinking, because I always forget about that boss fight. We didn't do too bad until it came to the boss fight, and then it's not a fight you want to do with 5 Bergs and a Guardian. And then I watched Chromite's stream of Update 23 while my bull roarer was patching, and I saw the previews for the new cosmetics, which, by the way, look really awesome. There's a heavy shield that looks like a little bitty heart with the crossed axe and pick on it. That's really cool. And I also ran along with him during a level 120 sword halls, and not only did I not die, they managed to get the mobs focused on him and the other guy, so I was behind them, so I wasn't having everything deflected, and I saw a 38k crit on Terry against a level 120 mob. It was awesome.
And what level were you?
115.
Oh, 115 still? Okay.
115 still. Yeah, it was awesome.
Whee! And that concludes our week in LOTRO. Terry, is there anything else you want to add from earlier in the show?
I don't think so.
All right. Just want to make sure that you had an opportunity there.
You talked about the fishing things, right? Like the different locations have different fish in them.
Yes, we did talk about the fish and stuff like that. And also that when she asked a follow-up question about do the bonuses on fishing poles do anything, I wasn't sure because I know that there are some bonuses on fishing that never worked right. That was one of them.
I believe the bonuses work when you're just fishing on landscape. They do not work for the actual festival quests. Festival quests are completely RNG based. They are not based on your fishing skill.
Well, I didn't mean your fishing skill. I meant the bonus to fishing skill.
Yeah, the bonus to fishing skill that you get from the polls also does not affect those fishing quests.
Well, I didn't think they would affect the fishing quests any. Yeah,
but I believe the higher your fishing skill, the better your chance to collect whichever fish you're looking for. But it's still RNG, so
RNG, yeah.
Some days it's just gonna hate you.
Just as track.
Exactly.
We currently have 20 supporters on Patreon, and if you would like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. And we have an email today from Mary Rose. And Terry, what does Mary say?
Mary Rose says, "Dear LPN, I was reading the release notes and laughed when I saw this. Human-female heads now match correctly between old and new. An extra new head that was missing has now been added. Old heads 10 and above have been shifted up by 1 to compensate. It makes me wonder what really happened. Old versus new heads. Does that mean new heads spread up to replace the old ones? Also, how many heads does that female have? I didn't know she could have an extra new head that was missing. Did she have one or more heads to begin with? And the shifted up by 1 could mistakenly be read that she now has a stack of heads, one on top of the other. Respectfully refraining from making any puns on this matter, Mary Rose Morning Song. P.S. I very much appreciate the dedication you all have for the weekly podcast. Thanks so much." That was an awesome email. I read that when she sent it the other day, and I just started cracking up.
A female Hydra.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, either that or Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Yeah. Except that's kind of the wrong genre.
Yeah, I know, it's the wrong genre. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotroplayers.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @Players Ally, LOTRO Players @LOTRO Players, Ariandes @Ariandes, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, Sanswinda @Sanswinda, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin. And you could follow Cinders @Emeralina. The Players Alliance has 4 live shows. Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. Every other Thursday at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have XP Quest. And on the first Tuesday of each month at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Chromatic Bits. And you can join us for our live shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to quest responsibly.